This presentation, titled Spectrum Challenges and Tools to Improve Food Safety Audits, comes to us from Richa Bedi-Navik. Richa is the technical expert and standards manager for global standards for food safety at START at BRCGS, which she is responsible for developing and maintaining the value and growth of both programs globally. BRCGS is a leading brand and consumer protection organization used by more than 29,000 certified engineers in more than 130 countries, with certification issued through a global network of accredited certification bodies. Richa completed her bachelor's degree in food technology at Guru Nanak Dev University and also holds a master's degree in food technology quality assurance from the University of Reading. During her career, Richa has worked in a variety of roles associated with food safety and quality management, including food manufacturing, food service, and retail, as well as within the logistics industry working for DHL. She's passionate about finding ways to successfully make sector issues tangible for a wide variety of standards users, facilitating better understanding and developing guidance on related themes to support the industry. And with that, take it away, Richa.
Thanks, Mike, and welcome everyone. The title of my presentation today is just talk to you through about the spectrum, the challenges related to food safety auditing within the industry, and then perhaps look at some really simple tools that might not be new to the users, but are fairly strong. And we at BRCGS believe if used correctly, they do add massive value in improving food safety and provide the added assurance that the customers and the certification users would need. So to begin with, although auditing processes and procedures, they have been available for a very long time, but it wasn't basically until the industrial evolution where the companies, they started to realize that what they need is some sort of a mechanism. So the very first mechanisms in terms of customer assurance and consumer protection that they were looking for were around food fraud and around establishing financial responsibility. So these were the very first initial auditing procedures that were formalized. Now, moving forward, looking at the modern standards that we have within the field of food safety and quality, this all really began when the retailers, they started looking for a solution and considering they are legally obliged to take all responsible precautions and exercise due diligence, which within the technical realm are referred to as the due diligence defense. And additionally, they had to verify the technical performance of sites that were manufacturing retailer brands for them. So they were looking for solutions, and that's where perhaps the retailers started coming together. And what they thought is, let's look at putting together, sharing experiences, cooperating in development of robust systems. And that's how essentially auditing or food safety standards evolved. Now, I'll take you through a brief history of BRCGS, but that's where in 1996, BRC was developed as it was known then. It was a trade association, and this was, again, retailers cooperating and looking at developing some auditing standards. Now, they once developed, they established fairly quickly. And the reason why that was is because the retailers found advantages, as did the companies that were using them. And what it was doing is, it was really supporting their objectives and provisions of very concise information in assisting due diligence defenses. And that's why the standards became very popular. In regards to BRCGS history, as I indicated, it was first established in the year 1996, known as BRC, a part of the trade association, and very quickly established within the UK. All came about when UK retailers started talking amongst themselves. 2000, GFSI came about, and we were the very first standard to be recognized. Since then, our journey has been very interesting. As you might notice, we have a range of standards that we publish, and namely food safety, the biggest, followed by packaging, and storage and distribution. We have consumer products, agents and brokers. In the year 2016, we were acquired by a company called LGC. And as a result, the standards division from the trade association split up, and hence we became BRCGS. And BRCGS now stands for Brand Reputation Through Compliance Global Standards, and it's not BRC. So BRC is a different stream. It is still part of the trade association, and that's hence branding came about in the year 2019. And as you might have noticed, we went from blue tick onto the bright, vibrant orange color. Just going back to the topic of audits again. So types of audits, as we know, all organizations, they categorize primarily the auditing programs into two big categories. So you have the external audits and the internal audits. So external, which are conducted usually by a third party. Internal audits, essentially conducted by internal auditors working for the organization, looking at improving. So if you further classify them, you're based on your auditor-auditee relationship. You look at first party audits, second party, and third party. So first party primarily are internal audits, which, as we believe, and again, which will be covered within the presentation later, a very strong tool, but heavily misunderstood by the organizations. If used correctly, would add so much value in terms of improving and upskilling your internal sort of systems. Second party audits usually used by site suppliers to understand the relationships, essentially, if somebody else is producing on their behalf. So it's seen as more or less a verification audit to understand the performance of your suppliers. And last but not the least, the biggest, as you can say, is the third party audits, heavily evolving, and involves conduction of audits by independent auditors that are not really employed or have a direct relationship with the organization that's getting audited, and often they lead to certification. Fast forward to today. So we've had audits around for a number of years, and basically, if you look at it, the entire food safety auditing spectrum primarily the same, but the logistics become really complicated. And increasingly, it's evolving. Today, what we've seen is the added complexity that the pandemic has added on. What audits usually have is a number of days on site by the auditor. And there's the added complexity of travel, in-person meetings, security clearances, sometimes scheduling the meetings between multiple parties, and then going through and reviewing your procedures and processes. Now, in the midst of your global pandemic, logistics of on-site is fairly complicated. And that's where, if you look at the current landscape of how audits are conducted, what previously was the announced audit option, the unannounced audit option. So basically, your on-site audits, they have been enhanced a bit further. This is, again, a bit of a drive by GFSI, is where the blended audits option came in. And what that means is you have a part unannounced audit that's conducted remotely, and then a second part that is conducted on site. Now, the biggest advantage of a blended audit is all your relevant elements that an auditor can check or be prepared for the audit off-site, or that usually is conducted in an office, could be done off-site, and saves the travel time, and perhaps there would be cost benefits associated with the blended audit option. And last but not least, I think as a result of pandemic, there have been discussions about implementing remote audits for a long time. However, this has just really escalated the process, really enhanced it, and what even us as certification program owners had to come up with a solution fairly quickly. So what remote audit, as the name suggests, essentially you do everything remotely. An upcoming field, a lot of information gathering and data gathering is happening in the background. Use of ICT, your technology is crucial. And a really strong, way of auditing that is coming about with remote audits, but definitely not going away anytime soon, is what we believe. I'm not going into a lot of detail, but audit process essentially very similar. So what you conduct is massive planning is planning being one of the key stages that definitely makes or breaks your audits essentially. So you look at conducting, have your areas identified, your auditors ready, you understand the site. The more you can input into planning, the better the outcome would be for the audits, and then your usual steps of execution. Then from doing the on-site procedure analysis, you do come up with some actions, you prepare the report, then you complete the audit essentially. Then comes the added element of verification and audit evaluation. And these two are very key points. So what we should take away from the audit process is it's not really limited to just the auditing activity, and it just doesn't finish at the time where a report is issued. Essentially, the process goes on until the site can complete the non-conformance, and then a follow-up can be conducted. So it is a long process, and just thinking that we've had one, we've had the report, certificates being issued is the wrong mentality. So think about it as the opportunity that's been provided by the auditor, make the most of it, try to improve your systems based on that. So if we look at some of the key challenges, there's plenty. We wouldn't say that there's no relevant challenges that keep reoccurring. There's different areas we have challenges within food safety audits, and that can vary from how the audit's conducted, including auditors, as well as some of the things that are related to site. So the challenges that I will be talking to you about are basically how the audit is perceived by a site. So the four key issues that keep reoccurring within food safety audits. The very first one, consistent mentality of a site to just think that you just pass the audit. So it's not about an improvement opportunity or not seen as essentially an added value, but it's just one, my customer asked me for it, and all I need is just pass this audit or have the grade that the customer asked for. So that mentality definitely is not the right way to go about if you're approaching the subject. And that very nicely leads us into the second point, that is around the reactive culture. So it's having a proactive culture where you prepare for an audit, you don't really think about short-term solutions. You actually, instead of ignoring the problem because there's a longer analysis associated to it, is not the right way. Just thinking, okay, if I ignore it for too long, it will go away. That's definitely not the right way to approach it. I think with the standards and being in the standards realm, that's where the evolution and the thought process around food safety culture or product safety culture essentially came in. And culture is something I think the industry has been talking about for a long time, very passionate about the subject, and we've seen the advantages. So we introduced culture within the food standard in the previous version in issue 8. And this year with the new benchmark, last year with the new GFSI benchmark, the culture came into picture. So all the standard owners and all the certification program owners, they have introduced culture. And as you might know, within the European Union, so there's a new legislation that will involve culture as well going forward. So having the wrong mindset about having a reactive culture is not the right way to go about food safety audits. And that is perhaps one of, again, the variations and the change that we might want to look at. We want to go from just passing the audits to actually benefiting from it. The third and the fourth point is what I would like to cover in the next slides, as in what tools can be used to improve and help support some of these challenges. So third point being persistent food safety issues or problems that keep reoccurring. And you put in your corrective action, you've done all that needs to be done, but still it doesn't go away. So why is it not going away? Have we utilized some of the tools that we have to our disposal? They're not really complicated, very simple tools. And if we haven't, why? So we'll discuss that a little bit. And the last one that I would like to touch upon today is the higher than expected number of food safety customer complaints or recalls that might keep happening at site. So we've had it last year, we have it again, or the customer keeps complaining about the same topic over and over, rather than just getting frustrated over this. trying to get to the root cause of it, identify what exactly the issue is, and if we can tackle it at the root, essentially, then how can we make it go away? So the simple tools that I keep referring to that I would like to talk to you about today. So firstly, internal audits. Simple. Every organization does it. Every certification owner would be quite sort of passionate about this. And there are reasons why. But very simple, if used correctly, would really add value to improving your food safety culture, your organization's food safety overall. Now, point 2 and 3 are interlinked. Your corrective and preventative actions usually include root cause analysis, but root cause analysis would like to discuss this separately. And that's just because this is such a great tool that we have introduced within our standards. Most of the certification program owners use it, but it's not really seen as an added value by the sites. Instead, where a site comes across the term root cause analysis, there's this added sort of uh, they do get scared, and in very simple terms. And why that nervousness is that we understand partly because perhaps they don't really understand this tool or how to go about it. So we'll cover some of these issues in a little bit more detail. So starting off with internal audits, essentially what sites tend to focus on is they'll just go on, again, as I said, passing the audit and not have the mentality of actually we should utilize the feedback that's come back from the auditor. And the external auditing process is very detailed. And what the site tends to do is just get really involved, engrossed in setting the right systems. But what they fail to understand is a result from your external audits or the results from your internal audits. They are not a negative penalty. They do not hold a negative penalty, essentially. If a site can use the tool properly, you would improve your issues that you come about. So if you, for example, if we look at the RCGS, now one of the top non-conformances that we come across any standard, including food safety and storage and distribution or packaging, any standard that has facilities included. So the top non-conformance that we get really frustrated about is around doors. And if you look at the corrective action or the details provided, what sites do provide you with is, oh, perhaps we weren't really aware that there was a gap under the door or the door was damaged. However, if you go back a step and you say you weren't aware, why is it you weren't aware? You do have the tool of internal auditing. So did you not do your internal audit correctly? Or did you not really have the right frequency set up so you could be aware? The second thing to consider, in addition to your internal audits, you do have pest control and your pest management providers who come in on site. And you would see that doors is highlighted on their reports quite a number of times. So every time there's a gap under the door, you do have your pest controller visit on a monthly basis. So why is it that we see on the report that you didn't really know about the gap under the door? Or if the door is used quite frequently, it means you haven't set up your frequency of doing your internal audit around doors correctly. So this is just an example where a site would do the internal audit just as a tick box, yes, fine, we've done it, but not really going to the depth and understanding the real value out of this tool of internal auditing. It is so important and definitely would contribute to continuous improvement if used correctly. Absolutely, it is key in validating your systems, but if done correctly, base it on risk assessment, check your issues, try and get to the bottom of it. And that's where perhaps the corrective actions and your root cause analysis, again, they go hand in hand. But internal audits, as we believe, is seriously misunderstood, seriously misutilized. There's plenty of training out there in the market. Try to see what suits best for the organization. But again, try and keep on top of it, utilize this to the core. And if there's anything that you think is reoccurring, the answer is all there within this tool itself. So moving on, corrective and preventative actions. As we all know, with the corrective action process, it's pretty much analyzing the effect of issues that keep reoccurring. So what you need to do is to start off with, analyze where the issue is coming from, scan your entire system, take actions, try stopping it from reoccurring. So it should not reoccur is what your intention should be. And then it is of paramount importance that your reoccurrence is stopped and prevented, and the preventative action process is established. So you are proactive towards it. You're conducting a very thorough check of your system, and the actions that are required are completed. Don't be scared in case action is taking a long time to get to the bottom of why is it happening. Keep asking the question, keep drilling it down, because if you get to the right issue, that definitely will help prevent the non-conformity in future. So your corrective and preventative actions, as I said, very important tool, but again, something that's definitely misunderstood, misutilized essentially. If you look at the bit of root cause analysis related to your corrective and preventative actions. Now, root cause analysis, as you know, we've heard the term plenty. We know and we've heard, oh, root cause analysis is not really conducted properly. But why is that? So if we look at some of the issues that exist with root cause analysis, first of all, what you would see is there's not a formal problem-solving process. So you might just say, okay, corrective action, your issues come in, I'll do a corrective action, I'll see, okay, if it is just around training, I'll train my staff, but do not take it one step further. I have trained my staff on a number of occasions. Why is it that it's not working? So not having a formal process in place or the right skill set. So you do not have the resource or the skill or the experience, or perhaps you have built that skill, but that person's moved on into a different role. So having that continuous cycle and just being aware is key when it comes to root cause analysis. Now, management do play a very important part, and sometimes the management pressures could come in to play, and they just fail to admit or are unwilling to admit that there is actually an issue. Definitely one of the key things. Additional resources, again, related to a bit of management, that perhaps you have identified and you know that there's additional resource required in regards to having additional members on the team, or there's financial input that's required. And the management said, no, actually, we can't really do it. Going through a bit of a crunch, so we might have to hold back. So that is, again, one of the reasons why root cause analysis fails. And the final piece being around, because there's so many complexities and pitfalls related to root cause analysis, it's easy to follow a path of least resistance. So what it means is you're very close to getting to a solution, but because the next step is a little bit difficult, you just say, okay, let's stop here. So as in the previous example, you have an issue, and you have, per se, you are receiving a number of food safety complaints. What you do is you say, okay, it's just a matter of training my staff, and not really going to the next step that, okay, we've trained our staff before, but how would retraining the staff actually help us? Is that the right root cause? Taking and going down one notch ahead is essentially where this process falls apart. So if we look at some of the pitfalls associated with the root cause analysis. So problem solving related to root cause has always been seen as a weakness, as we said. Now, the 7 pitfalls commonly that happen when you are conducting root cause analysis is, first of all, you see the symptom and not the system or the process. So sometimes what appears to be a completely separate symptom may actually have a common root cause. For example, the failure to assign clear responsibilities for tasks may result in different food safety failures, all of which are actually related to the lack of clearly defining a responsibility. The second one, duplicate corrective actions. So in some instances, a team may fail, they are addressing the root cause analysis. If they provided with additional solutions, so sometimes we just decide, okay, we are hiding behind the barrier saying, oh yeah, no, actually, we are not getting any additional solution. No, we will improve. We are given these additional solutions, but there's nothing. So these additional solutions may still just be addressing one part of the root cause, and it primarily is not. But the team has decided to just hide behind the fact that, yeah, because they won't really give an additional resource, they can't get to the bottom of it. Another big pitfall under root cause analysis is you see it as a singular, one issue, and persistent problems might have multiple causes. Now, that's why the tools like your 5 whys, they need to be considered. So it's not just one reason why something keeps reoccurring. It could have a multitude of issues linked to it. Very common and easily done, assigning the blames of fault with people and just thinking, okay, they are the reason. Instead, root cause of a problem ideally cannot be an individual. If an individual is involved, then you need to understand why are they exhibiting these actions? Why are they doing what they're doing? It cannot be an individual at fault. That's where take the approach, look big, look further. Another pitfall is just conducting extra checks. So what you see is you are offered a solution and additional checks, gather information, but don't get to the bottom of what exactly the issue is. So yeah, as I've seen, this is what happens. We train the staff, we just go and observe them, job done, but not really breaking it further. Why were they deviating from what they were doing, what they were instructed on? Was there a reason? Is it the culture? Is it not clear instructions? Is it the supervisor telling them a different thing to do? So all of that needs to be considered. And finally, the most simple of all, you propose a corrective action, but it doesn't really prevent the reoccurrence. So if this happens, team often don't come up with an alternate solution. They just keep working on the original solution that they know that it didn't really work the first time around. How do they expect it to work now? So these are just some of the traps associated with root cause analysis, where problem solving, again, it could be influenced by a number of things. So sometimes what you have is personal biases associated, try to keep them away. You might have emotion, you might have judgment associated. So take these away and try to be as unbiased as possible when you conduct a root cause analysis. So if we look at some of the possible solutions that would make a root cause analysis very easy. So let's start at the top, as does our standard. Focus on the management commitment element. Leaders, they need to enhance their leadership skills, especially those that involve managing teams, enhancing employee engagement, and of course, sort of like understand how the root cause analysis tools are applied, invest. Please do have an input into sort of like the additional resource, upskill, make your staff feel involved, feel valued. So that always start at the top. Management commitment, absolutely the key to this entire improvement and even this tool of root cause analysis. Second, ensure that formal root cause analysis processes and tools, they are understood, available, and they are implemented. So build that resource, build that internal skill, master the art of problem solving and root cause analysis. This will take practice, it does, but it can very easily be made into a habit. So the more you practice with it, the more you understand, the more you run your workshops, the better results you may get. Again, a key theme is around creating high levels of trust within the team itself. So not just saying, but doing. And when somebody does it, you have the ability to build that trust in the team. With trust comes the ability for the team to objectively look at themselves and not take things personally. So it's not like I won't really raise this issue because it's not really going to look good on me. There's judgment, there's bias. Take that out. Take the emotions out when conducting a root cause analysis. Don't think it might look bad on a specific team, but build that level of trust that they are actually open up front and will dig deep to get to the exact issue. Why is it that we're failing? And finally, make it a KPI. A very simple thing, easily done by what you would know with the organizations. What doesn't get measured doesn't get done. So to ensure this is done, you make sure that measures are established. For example, how many of your corrective actions are closed successfully using a root cause analysis tool. Have some sort of a benefit built into it. So that might perhaps enhance the team's confidence in conducting a building, upskilling, as well as you would see the benefit of having and improving such an important tool that is at your disposal. So all that's left for me to say is what's on the screen there. We cannot solve a problem with the same thinking we used when we created them. So what I've mentioned today is very simple. The basic tools that are always at your disposal, use them accordingly, use them to the best of your ability. If upskilling is required, please do invest in yourself. Plenty of data, plenty of information available out in the market. If there's anything that we as BRCGS can support with, please do get in touch with us. And thank you.
And thank you, Richa Bedi-Navik, for that presentation and perspective on the challenges and tools available to improve auditing within food safety. And that concludes this presentation.